Okay, so we're back at it again with another chapter of Katekyo Hitman REBORN, and we're at chapter 66. And from 65, we now have to go after the enemies. We gotta go to the enemies' hideout, go to where they are hiding, where they're laying out, man. We gotta face them. That's basically what happened at the end of 65, and now they're setting out right now in this chapter. So we have it where, like, after they were discussing, after Suna discussed this with Reborn back at the school and everything, he goes back home and he going to change his clothes. His mom is clueless. The kids are clueless, aka Ipin and Lambo, because they want to go play with Suna. And then Suna is just like, man, I don't want to do this. At the end of the day, it's understandable that Suna does not want to do this. You guys have to remember that despite his lineage, aka being the next mafia boss, the 10th generation of one of the most powerful mafia organizations in the world, Suna is an ordinary kid. Despite him not being that great in academics or athletics, Suna is an average 14-year-old boy. He shouldn't have to be taking on this massive responsibility that is something that should have been left in the hands of adults. And on top of that, his friends, his classmates, and everyone he knows from his school is getting attacked because of him. So you can imagine the immense guilt that's weighing on his mind at such a young age for something that's completely out of his hands. So one thing I remember and realize that all the themes for every arc, starting from this arc, because this was the catalyst for everything that happened for the remaining of the series from this arc, right? Is that, like, one thing I realized from this panel, they're like, Suna's realizing, he wants to go back to the ordinary days, how we're going to get ourselves out of this war or this conflict and everything. And then Reborn will come in. I mean, Reborn looked weird when he showed up on the panel, because remember, Leon is still in his cocoon stage, but he's about to come back together. And he's like, let me bring Leon back, bring him with them to the battle, because they may need Leon's help. So Reborn is like, you have to fight. How should I paraphrase it? Not paraphrase it, but Reborn is like, you have to fight if you want to get back to this way of living, this sense of peace and comfort. And that's something Suna has to continuously do through every arc. Because the daily life arc was the daily life arc. Those were the peaceful days, like literally before any of the conflict, before anybody that was actually coming to end Suna's life, like in a serious matter. Not in a jokey way, not in a comedic way, but seriously come to end Suna and take his position or completely ruin the Vongola. And every arc we always have where Suna in particular is worrying about, how can I get everyone out of this situation? What do I have to do? Like constantly worrying and getting in his head and everything. And Reborn is always there, that voice of reason. It's just like, instead of trying to run away, instead of trying to avoid the problem, look it straight in his eye and handle it in order to get back to what you're used to, even though those days may not last forever. I just found that really interesting, and it just really did jog my memory and everything. So he's like, after that, Reborn is like, I'm not taking part in this fight. And you're thinking, despite everything we see Reborn, he's the most reliable in this situation, and you saying you're not taking part. And the reason for that is because the 9th, who's still in charge right now currently until Suna becomes officially the 10th, sent the letter out saying that Suna, not Reborn, but Suna has to take care of this problem again in 12 hours, or he's swimming with the fishes. And if he succeeds, he gets 100 years worth of tomatoes, like, bro. And then on top of that, we have where Reborn is just like, okay, since I can't really help you, like directly, I'm gonna give you something, aka the dying will bullet. And we come to find out that the dying will bullet is actually made from inside of Leon, but due to Leon, losing his tail and then going through all these various transformations, now he's in his final transformation, aka the cocoon. He was only able to make one dying will bullet. And guys, I want you to keep note of this one dying will bullet. This is the catalyst for Suna's growth. That one bullet, you would have thought, okay, he got shot multiple times by this, but now this bullet, this one in particular is special. This one is in particular is special, but you won't see that for another couple of chapters. So while that's happening and everything, everybody's getting ready. Then we have where Yamamoto is coming in, and it's like a ongoing running gag until the situation is extremely dire. But Yamamoto is always like, bro, so when we going on this mafia gameplay, like he's thinking this is a game, like the whole mafia everything is a game to him. Even though people actually got hurt, people end up in the hospital, their life is on the line, he thinks all of this is just role play. And then Suna is just constantly, and this is something that doesn't happen once or twice, like this is something that's kind of ongoing with Yamamoto. I don't know if this is his way of deluding himself into thinking that this is not real, and trying to make the most out of it. I don't know, but that is some strong, he's a delusional person. That's some strong delusion that this man is on, because you saw Gokudera bleeding out on the ground. You saw multiple people in the hospital, and you think this is still a role play. Delusional. This is all delusional, bro. But yeah, so while he's there, he's bringing snacks, like they're going on a picnic and everything. And then we have Bianchi bringing in her cooking. We all know about Bianchi's cooking is enough to send you to the hospital as well. So if you're not getting killed by the Kyoko students, then you're getting killed by Bianchi's cooking. Okay, it's disastrous, poisonous cooking. Of course, Gokudera, and take note, Gokudera is fine right now, but what makes you realize, is he really okay? He got bitten by a mosquito, and mosquitoes are highly linked to Dr. Shamal. So he sent one of his mosquitoes after Gokudera to bite him. Okay, it give him the itch mark and everything in his face. And of course, he injected some type of poison in Gokudera, because he doesn't have all his poisons, even if it's a poison, it's also an antidote. Keep that in mind. And the only reason Gokudera is not inside the house is because, again, remember, at the end of the day, his sister fed him so much of her poison cooking that when he sees her face, it just brings back all the trauma from being fed her food. So the only way that she can be in the same vicinity as him, in the same area, she has to cover some part of herself, which at first she started with a squirrel costume, a flying squirrel costume, but eventually it does change to her eventually wearing goggles. So they all set out. Gokudera, Yamamoto, Bianchi, Reborn, and Suna all head out to go to the Kyoko Helpland, where Mukuro, Chikusa, and Ken are all located waiting for them. Because I believe, like I mentioned in the last video, I do believe that at some point, Mukuro was probably betting on Suna actually coming to him instead of him going to Suna. Like, Suna was the last piece himself. So he had to, because also on top of that, Hibari is still at the hideout. So while they're going there, come to find out that for Suna, he actually has been to Helpland many years ago with both his parents. And it used to be like an amusement park, and I think / aquarium, and also like a zoo was there. So animals and everything was there for people, but because of a tsunami, everything went under, like underground. It was swept by a huge wave, and everything destroyed the whole land and all that. And there was supposed to be construction, but because of a mud slide or whatever, everything had to go under. So it became an abandoned place. So while they're there, they're asking Suna to kind of just leave the place since you have been there before. So he's trying to remember different land points on where they need to go to get to the main hideout. And all of a sudden you start seeing these animals. They look like dogs. They're coming running out from the back. And they're attacking them. So you're thinking, hold on, if animals are here, did they survive from, you know, what happened 2 years ago? Come to find out, they're actually dead. So dead dogs are running after them and their carcasses, so blood just starts splattering on everybody. And I'm like, that's actually pretty disturbing. That's horrifying. You have carcasses coming after you. Something is controlling the carcasses. And it comes and then they kind of explode on Yamamoto and Gokudera and everything. And it's just really disturbing because then they got blood on them. They got dead dog blood on them. And it's like, that's some horrific type of stuff that I didn't realize this early on. They had that in this series. And again, this is my probably first or second time in a long while going back to reread from the very beginning, okay, of the series. And do tell me, guys, because it's been a long time since I last watched the anime, but do tell me, did they take that out when they were going to the Heltland, Kyoko Heltland? Were there dogs coming after them or any animal, and then, you know, a bunch of blood and all that, because that was actually pretty gruesome. So while that's happening and they're trying to run away and everything, someone pops up from behind Yamamoto. Yamamoto drops down. The building is under the ground, okay? It's unsteady ground that they're on. And then Ken, who was running behind them, jumps down into the abandoned building underground with Yamamoto, okay? So remember, at the end of the day, strongest, number one is Hibari. Second strongest in Namamori Middle School is Yamamoto, and Yamamoto is Ken's target, his prey. Okay, and what's interesting is that you see before he launches to go behind Yamamoto, like he's about to pounce on him, you see his hand kind of, all these veins, very animalistic. So take that as a hint as you will. And so we're gonna have our first or second big fight after the Gokudera and Shakusa fight. We're gonna have that fight with Yamamoto versus Ken in the next chapter. But there was, like, in this chapter, it was kind of horrifying. It did point out the type of character Suna is in terms of like where he wants to live his life. And then we also have where Reborn, many a times he can get involved in the situations that Suna is in, because it was meant to build Suna's character up, build him into a proper boss. And as much as Reborn may want to involve himself, he has to be like that mentor that takes that backseat. It's like, you know, you have to do this because I can't be there for you. And you see that as time goes on in every major conflict, how Suna approaches it and how Reborn has to talk to Suna to say, you're going to be the boss regardless, and I'm not going to always be here to hold your hand for this. You got to pick yourself up, okay? So guys, do tell me on how you felt about chapter 66 of Katekyo Hitman Reborn. What were some things that you didn't remember too much, but this chapter was able to remind you on that? In terms of anybody that's watched the anime either the first time or many times, some of the stuff like aka the dead dog carcasses, was that in the anime? I may check it out for myself, but was that in the anime, and was it as gruesome as it was portrayed in the manga counterpart? Guys, the links are in the description box, so you guys go check that out. And I'm Kimmy Chan of Anime Legends, and I will see you guys later. Bye! With